Story 1. Rain drummed on the corrugated roof, and the old fluorescent lamp hummed like no one had changed it in years. The yard was a sheet of black glass, rain slick, sodium yellow, the kind of place where footprints look temporary and names don't matter. They'd stenciled vet preps, night dispatch on a tin sign that hung crooked, bleeding rust. A guard in a rain cape hurried me along, clipboard up, eyes down. "Paperwork's ready, driver. We're tight on window." He didn't offer a name. He didn't ask mine. Bill of lading? Processed veterinary products? Required holding temperature? 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Exact. Highlighted twice. No doc tour, no photos. "Insurance thing," he said, already turning away. The bleach bite in the air made my eyes water. Underneath it, a metallic tang that didn't belong to anything that should be shipped after midnight. I checked the rear, habit and religion. Fresh tamper seal, too fresh, edges still sharp, plastic unscuffed. The QR looked wrong, off-center. New, like a badge you wear once to feel legit. No company logos, no doc cams. Cash advance offer slid across the clipboard in a greasy sleeve. "If you keep it cold and quiet." I slid it back. I muttered my rule under the breath that fogged my teeth. If I ever hear SOS, I verify it's not a trap. Then I act. It sounded like something my sister, an ER nurse, would make me tape to the dash. I thought of my nephew's dialysis pump and the way hospital machines talk in beeps when you're supposed to listen. I palmed my cheap borescope, $30, glove box lifer, and pocketed it like a coin I might need to spend. "Doors sealed," the guard called. The fluorescent hissed. The rain got louder, or maybe the yard just went quieter. I eased out, wipers carving the night. The guard's radio crackled as I hit the gate, a voice with the wrong kind of calm. "Granite at 02. Keep him on brine." Not trucking talk, not any talk I liked. I fired up the rig and rolled into the dark. The engine settled into a steady, calming growl. The road opened like a ribbon soaked in ink, centerline blinking back at me. And the wipers kept lazy time on mist I barely needed. Out here it's just you, diesel, and the miles you owe. Then, a thump. Not the kind a pothole leaves in your bones. A soft, deliberate knuckle on metal. From behind me. I killed the radio, leaned forward like that had helped my ears. Another, closer this time. "3, pause. 1, pause. 2, I said, to the engine, to the dark, to whatever was listening. Morse. Old as ships. I wrapped my keys against the bulkhead. Gentle, so the sound would carry down the frame. "Help," I spelled, long shorts counting in my head like a prayer I hadn't said in years. The reply came back too fast to be coincidence. Same cadence, same nerve. My mouth went dry. The miles I owed turned into seconds I didn't have. I hit dispatch on hands-free. "Sealed load. Vet products. I've got Morse from inside the trailer." "Do not break the seal," the voice said, no air in it at all. "Deliver direct. We'll call consignee." "I'm calling 911. And I did. Flat voice, clean details. Plate, mile marker, required temp, 35 on the nose, and Morse code from inside the reefer. The operator logged it, calm like a winter pond. "If you can do so safely, pull off and wait for units." "Copy," I lied, because my mirrors were telling a different story. The tamper seal winked at me, a tiny green LED pulsing like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. My phone chimed. Unknown blue device nearby. The distance number crept down. Down. Someone wasn't just listening to this load. Someone was watching it, watching me, through the seal itself. And the tapping, God help me, kept time with my wipers. I killed the engine and stepped out. Night air and crickets took over where the road noise ended. The world shrank to gravel under my boots, a fence line breathing in the dark, and the reefer's low cold hum rolling like a distant fridge in an empty house. All right, I told nobody. If it's a trap, it's a careful one. I palmed the bore scope, glovebox coin turned lifeline, clipped its cable to my phone and thumbed the LED to life. A skinny beam, no wider than a finger, cut the damp. Service grommet was where it always is, rubber tired and mean from years of road grit. I eased the camera through, slow, letting the light bloom inside the cold like a match struck in a freezer. There, skin, pale, close enough to see goose flesh lift in the draft. A hospital wristband, blue, unreadable through condensation, IV line taped in a no-nonsense loop. The lens fogged, cleared, and then I caught a sliver of white tubing, an endotracheal tube, fixed with more tape than mercy. A beep, faint as a watch in a drawer. Beep, beep, beep. The reefer hum swallowed it, gave it back. Alive. Someone was alive in my trailer. I snapped stills, seal number, QR, the wrist, the tube, each shot a nail pinning down the truth. 911, I said into the night. Phone up. This is Big Rig. Rural turnout off County 12. Sealed reefer. Morse from inside. Visual confirmation of a living, intubated person. I will proceed to the nearest ER unless you have units 2 minutes out. Units are not 2 minutes out, the operator said, voice steady. If safe, maintain scene. Not safe, I cut in, calm as I could make it. I'm arming telematics SOS now. Thumb on the dash fob. 2 seconds. 3. Then the rig chimed once, a little heartbeat that pinged somebody, somewhere, who knew my truck better than I did. Above the hedgerow, a whine crept in. High, insectile, deliberate. My screen flashed. BLE device proximity. Strong. The green LED on the seal blinked. Once, twice, closer than before. Crickets kept on like nothing had changed. Everything had. Out there, the crickets kept time while the reefer's cold breath smoked in the beam of my flashlight. I slid my knife under the plastic tab, not to cut, not yet. Just to pry enough to pop the cable free. The real seal went straight into a foil snack bag from my door pocket, crimped tight, a poor man's Faraday, and into my jacket. The spare seal, the kind dispatch swears you never use, clicked home with a guilty little snap. Chain of custody, buddy, I whispered, to myself, to the night, to any courtroom that might ask later. I cracked the left door 2 fingers worth. White vapor poured out, chemical winter rolling over my boots. The light found a portable cooler strapped mid-bay, white ice stenciled on its side. Digital readout steady at 36 degrees Fahrenheit. A loop of IV line quivered in the cold draft. Past it, a face I couldn't see. Only the taped endotracheal tube kissing the fog. There was a note on duct tape, Sharpie scrawled in sure. Donor transport, do not stop. Yeah, that's not how tonight goes, I said, and reached for the pallet straps. I fed one over the cooler, ratchet chattering, another around the anchor rail, pulled until my shoulder burned. The reefer's faint beep, beep, ticked my pulse. Then, micro hell. The rear strap slipped a notch, just enough. The cooler slid an inch. The monitor coughed a flat, awful line. Bee! And my heart stopped with it. I shoved my thigh against the cooler, yanked the strap back, ratcheted hard, Once, twice, three, until the belt sang. The line broke back into life. Beep, beep. I didn't know I'd been holding my breath until I tasted metal. Across the dark came clipped radio, not mine. A voice that didn't waste vowels. Granite -5. Window closing. Keep white ice on brine. Headlights bloomed at the mouth of the turnout. 2 SUVs, noses crossed, a quiet, confident X. The crickets didn't care. I did. Time to move, or be moved. I climbed back in and drove. The engine roared low and sure while the trailer groaned behind me. The turnout mouth was a dark X. 2 SUVs idling wide, like bouncers who already knew the answer to a question they hadn't asked. All right, big dog, I told the rig, palms dry on the wheel. Dance. I rolled 3 truck lengths, feathered the brake, then cut it, hard, right, hard, letting 40,000 pounds start to fold. The trailer swung like a door of steel, not too far, not the full scissor, just enough to wall them off. Headlights shattered across the white side panels, horns blared, somebody cursed on a frequency I didn't own. I punched the washers and high beams, a blinding fan of glare, and the drone dipped into it like a moth. Window closing. A voice crackled from somewhere I didn't care to meet. My rear axle chirped. The tires wrote a short letter to the gravel. The tractor nosed through the gap the swing had made. Cab first, my heart half a beat late. Then the tap. The left SUV clipped my bumper. A polite little pit. The mirror sheared with a scream. The trailer began to fishtail. Once. Twice. I let the wheel breathe under my hands, stayed off the panic pedal. Mass, Mercy, and the surge tank did their jobs. The sway settled into a long, angry shrug. 911, driver. The operator was still with me, bless her. State Patrol advises proceed to County Hospital ER via Farm Road 12 to County 2. Copy, I said, mile marker loud in my throat. MM 157, turning east at the silos. I threaded a side road as narrow as a promise. Fence posts rushed by like teeth. The trailer kissed one, a loud, splintering smooch. But we cleared, and I shoved breath back into my lungs. In the mirror, the remaining 1, SUVs were forced into a U, mud blooming around their tires. My phone flashed. Bleed proximity weak. Good. Then, a second ping. Unknown, bleed device detected. New, closer. Another tracker, or a chase car, I muttered, leaning into the pull. Either way, I kept moving. Under the ambulance bay, rain hammered the awning, and the bright lamps hummed like a hospital always does at night. I backed the trailer square to the threshold, bumpers kissing the bumpers, set the brake and felt the whole rig exhale beneath me. 2 figures in scrubs appeared in the white glare. No dramatics, just motion, crisp and practiced. Driver? One called, voice steady, eyes already on the door latches. I nodded, dropped to the wet concrete, and worked the bar. Cold vapor rolled out, that same chemical winter, and they were there with a gurney before the breath had finished leaving the box. I didn't touch the tube, I said, palms up, words slow. Kept him cold, strapped the cooler, visualized wristband, IV line. Good, the physician said, not looking at me, looking past me. We've got him. The beep that had ridden with me all this way, faint, stubborn, slid into the open air and sounded stronger. Not louder, sure, like it finally had room. State Patrol boots clicked into the bay, rain on hats, radios murmuring. Sir, one trooper said, gentle as if I were the patient. We'll need chain of custody. I handed him what I'd been holding together by will. The bagged reel seal, foil crimped, a still from the borescope, Wrist, line, condensation, screenshots of the blinking BL, timestamps for dispatch and 911. Spare seal on the doors, I added, shame and relief tied in a knot. Original is in that bag. Didn't want them riding me. He nodded, wrote, photographed, breathed. Dash cam, front and rear. I fished out the SD, that thin square proof the night happened. A radio down the bay crackled. Copy. Granite units at county line. Vehicles detained. White ice recovered. No sirens, no gunplay. Just the wet sound of justice doing paperwork. They wheeled the gurney past. I saw forearm, tape, and tubing, skin the color of sleep. The physician glanced back once, a tiny nod. The kind that says, "You did your part. Now stand down." So I sat on my step, rain in my collar, lamp in my eyes, and let my hands shake where no one needed them steady anymore. Days later, the Wash Bay rain sounded softer, like the storm had finally run out of anger. The fans pushed a steady breath through the bay, and the rig wore a skin of clean water, as if the night could be rinsed off and sent down the drain. I opened the trailer, checked the gasket, then closed it again, just to do something with my hands. On the latch, a faint ring mark showed where the real seal had hung. A pale ghost of plastic and bad decisions. I rubbed it with my thumb until my skin warmed the cold metal. The circle stayed. My phone buzzed, a new memo. No caller ID, just a timestamp and the kind of silence that has weight. I pressed play. A thin voice, sanded down by tubes and hard nights. "You stopped the chain. I'm still here." The words came apart at the edges. Breath, relief, a smile I couldn't see. "Thank you." I leaned against the wet bumper and let the rain do the talking for a while. When it ran out of things to say, I cleared my throat and said the rest for the folks who might someday need it. Check your seals. Photograph the number, the QR, the scuffs that should be there. Exact temps at odd hours, that's a flag. Cash to keep it quiet, another flag. If your gut says, this ain't normal, believe it. Call dispatch, then call 911. Hit the telematics SOS so someone besides you knows where you are. And if you ever hear Morse on the skin of your trailer, 3, pause, 1, pause, 2, answer. Verify, then act. I pocketed the cheap borescope like a lucky coin. It had paid for itself, in a currency no one prints. The rain softened to a mist. The fans wound down. The bay went momentarily still. I shut the rig off me and stood in the hush that follows good endings and survivable beginnings. Sometimes the right destination isn't on the bill of lading, I said, to the truck, to the bay, to whoever needed to hear it next. Somewhere in the wash, a tech knocked 3 times on a panel. Just routine, just habit. I smiled and tapped back. Enjoying the ride? Subscribe and like the video to keep us rolling. Next story coming up. Story 2. I kept the rig rolling. The engine's steady growl filled the cab while the night pressed against the glass. I take a sip of burnt coffee, hot, bitter, count steel on the overpass as it slides by. 1, 2, 3. Breath on the 4. The road is a ribbon, black and wet, and the CB on 19 is just static and small talk. Weather, potholes, a joke about a way station. Then a new voice, clean, almost friendly. "Evening Roadhouse," he says, my handle like he's sat in this seat. "How's the Tahoe treating your wife? Still doing Tuesday pickups after practice?" I don't key up at first. My thumb hovers. The wipers thump. 1, 2, 3. Then I'm on. "Wrong driver, partner." He chuckles, not cruel, just Close. Mile marker 86.7. You just passed it. Cute decal on the dash. The faded bulldog with a crooked tongue. Say hi to your son, Caleb. The breath that leaves me is short and hot. You've been listening to too many stories, friend. Oh, I listen, he says, easy as a lullaby. I read too. You all keep such tidy lives. MC numbers, proud posts, a screenshot of your ELD when you thought the sunrise looked nice. Talk to me, Roadhouse. I don't give him anything. I twist the dial, 11, then 5, then a quiet side channel. Dead air, little hollow between the lanes. 2 beats later, he's there again, seamless. Scanning wide tonight. Don't run. A whisper of other voices trails him, a chorus behind glass. I kill the mic. My knuckles find the wheel, tight, then tighter. Coffee tastes like metal now. The rig hums, steady, like it's not my life being opened like a glove box. A thinner voice slips in, filtered, paid, the kind that buys access instead of gas. Crowd pick when? No laughter, no mercy. Just the road, and a show I didn't sign up for. Under the fuel island canopy, rain ticked on sheet metal and the old lamp hummed like it remembered better days. I nose the rig beside a cracked yellow post. Kill the engine. The silence is not silence at all, just rain and neon, and my own breath coming back from the glass. I pull the little Bly RF scanner from the cubby, $20 of plastic and stubborn hope. Thumb it alive. It chatters to itself, then spikes. Unknown device, strong, then soft, then strong again, like something breathing under the skin. I slide down into the wet, shoulder to the frame, jacket soaking through at the elbows. Tires tick as they cool. The flashlight walks the cross members, grease, road salt, old scars. And there it is. A small black puck where no puck should be. Magnet snug to steel. It looks ordinary. That's the worst part. Ordinary is how we die by inches. Back in the cab, the phone buzzes. Unknown tracker moving with you. Then the alert dies, as if embarrassed to have spoken. Quiet tag, throttled pings, someone playing just beneath the tripwire. The lamp hums like a bad memory. On the windshield, neat as a parking receipt, a square of white. A QR. Watch where we go. Lave. Clean font. No fingerprints. The link is a smile that routes through a commercial shortener to a place with onions in the address, not the kitchen kind. My fingers hook under the corner and strip it off. Glass squeals. It sticks to my palm like it wants to stay. I catch myself lifting the phone to take a picture. Habit. Proof. Content. I stop. No souvenirs. The CB is dead, but the show is not. My screen blinks. A mirror of the stream. Seconds delayed. A poll blooms across the chat like mold. Left exit or right exit? Hearts ripple. Coins clink where I can't see them. I am now a menu item. Choose your route, choose your meat. I grip the wheel and taste rain in my teeth. Someone else is deciding how I turn. Inside the scale house bay, the fluorescent hum out-talked the rain. The room smells like wet cardboard and coffee that's been punished all night. A trooper with tired eyes takes my statement, handle, route, the QR, the puck. Writes it down like it'll matter if the ink is careful enough. He nods a lot, says all the right human things. Problem is jurisdiction, he adds, soft, apologetic. Insufficient data. Could be interstate, could be foreign. You know how it is. He doesn't say, you're on your own, but it's there between the staples on his clipboard. Change channels, change routes, don't post live, he offers, like a pamphlet. I nod back like a good citizen. Inside, my teeth grind. Back in the cab, I kill the CB. Switch goes down like a guillotine. The quiet is warm for half a breath. Then a new voice blooms on GMRS. Then FRS, hopscotch on the family bands. My voice, except it isn't mine. Old clips, heading westbound, mile 118. Kids game ran late. Spliced between his chuckle like I'm a ventriloquist's dummy and he owns the hand. 5 quiet minutes slide by, rain flattening the lot like static. Blue strobes rinse the lot. The same trooper taps my window, points to a brown sedan idling crooked by the dumpsters. We're checking that one, he mouths. A second cruiser noses in. For 30 seconds, my heart sharpens. Yes, yes, yes. Take him down. Empty. Registration clean. Driver a night janitor with a busted tail light and the face of a man who earns every ache. The trooper's look says, sorry. Mine says, I know. The phone vibrates. A new short link, fresh paint, mirror up. Below it, the paid chat hisses through the pinned preview. Words like ice shards. Speed up. Crowd pick waits. Right lane. Make him dance. Coins clatter where I can't see. The soundless sound of purchase. It clicks then. Not just the tracking, not just the voice. My choices, my fear. That's the show. And the show must go on. I killed the truck and let night wind with crickets take over the silence. The cab clicks as heat bleeds out of metal. I dial a number I haven't used in 3 years. It rings like walking back into an old shop. K7 Hollow, he answers. Same dry rasp, same calm like a bench vise. He isn't a hero. He builds things that work. Talk, he says. I do. The voice, the puck, the QR, the pole. He doesn't flinch. We'll bait him where he lives. 15 minutes later, I've got the laptop open, hotspot tethered, the cheap USB SDR warming my thigh like a pocket sun. On my screen, a clean dispatch PDF we wrote on purpose, too clean. Fake lane numbers, fake consignee, a quiet tracking pixel zipped inside like a splinter. Send it where you think his scrape will reach, Hollow says. Make it look like you meant to hide it and failed. We stack the honey. On 19, I let a fragment slip. Dragging an empty tonight. Casual, bored. In a side chat, a friend of a friend repeats it for me. Like a breadcrumb he thought was his idea. Then we pick a loop, industrial dead end, one way in, one way out. Camera at the corner on a pole that no one notices until they need it. Honey root, Hollow names it. If he eats, we'll feel the teeth. I almost quit. I sit there with the wind stroking the grass and the crickets counting time, and I taste a different guilt. The time I thought I was funny, roasting a rookie on air, reading details I shouldn't have known. I helped make this, I say. Quiet like an apology to the road. Then help unmake it, Hollow answers. Keys tap, antennas wake. He just pinged your pixel. And he slipped. UTC -4 in one log, -5 in another. Wrong clock or wrong coast. First stitch in his mask. The night breathes. I key nothing. The trap is set. Back on the throttle, the engine laid down that low road song I trusted. Honey root engaged. A neat little loop through warehouses and chain link. Sodium lights bruising the wet pavement. The mirror links start hopping. Someone reposts, someone masks, someone cuts the onion in half and serves it back to the same hungry crowd. I keep the speed a hair under posted. Steady, unremarkable, the kind of rhythm a predator mistakes for grazing. Headlights appear and hold. A dark sedan, 2 back, then 1, then breathing my bumper space. It blinks once, twice, my handle in Morse, not even subtle. I let a crumb fall on a quiet channel. Exclusive pull-off Westgate. Like think I'm bored with my own voice. At the lot, first car to nose in is a sunburnt Corolla with a wobble hubcap and a man who looks like a week of night shifts. He rolls down, lifts both hands. "Sorry, brother. Thought you were my guy." My laugh is small and wrong. Guilt tastes copper. "You're good," I tell him. He melts back into the rain. Then the sedan, the one with money, slides in like it owns the space. It idles close, windows up, the lens of a phone catching light through tint. Two unmarked units wake from a shadow, quiet, clean, a single whoop of siren like a cough. Doors, commands, routine hands. The phone goes to a bag, the bag goes to a trunk, the driver goes to a curb, cuffs polite and stainless. I don't get out, I don't need to. But I see the screen before the bag swallows it. A subscription receipt, crypto hash, timestamp, tier color that matches the blue room. I can feel like cold on my teeth. The host's voice phrase on air, "OPSEC, mirror up, mirror," while the viewer count ticks north, blood in the water. My dash buzzes. Hollow texts one line. Pixel lit. Council spinning a geofence on mirrors. No lecture, just fact. I breathe, once, like I've been underwater a while. The cab stayed loud with engine and tires, the only music I wanted while names and addresses burned the air. Hollow's voice rides the phone like a metronome. "Bearing 185 from you. Now, 188, hold." Second lobe says he's not mobile. East side of town, 2-story with a porch. Wi-Fi bleeding on channel 6. I'm seeing a rooftop whip that doesn't match the neighborhood. I drift past the exit. Circle the block slow, let the turn signal tick like a Geiger counter. A buddy of mine, Nightjar, is already 5 blocks out in his own rig, eyes on the street I can't spare. He comes up soft. White porch, frog statue, cable line sagging to the alley. Blue router glow in the front room. You got a mailbox with peeling 214. He doesn't say the street. He doesn't have to. I key up, not hot, not triumphant, just even. "Evening, host. Let me read you back your own show notes." My breath fogs the glass. The road hums under everything. "You bounce the audio through a family band relay 2 miles south. Keeps your uplink light. You push mirrors in bursts. Mirror up every 22 minutes on average, like prayer bells. Your pixel tells me you forgot what time it is. UTC -4 here, -5 there. Your mask is slipping." The chat skitters. Bit? Script? Coins hesitate. I keep going. "You've got a porch light with a bad starter and a neighbor with a barking lab. You wear your headset when you take the trash out." Nightjar murmurs. "Confirmed." The stream hiccups. First a stutter, then a hard cut to black. Too late. Hollow is already on a second line with people who speak paperwork like weather. Somewhere, tires hiss in a slow turn. Somewhere, a radio says, "Copy." The paid chat lingers like a ghost window. Is this part of it? Reset? Host? Then one last pin floats from the blue room. 3 words, nothing else. On window? And then, nothing. Just engine, tires, night. The show's oxygen gone. Later, rain softened everything, like it wanted to wash the broadcast away. I let the wipers go lazy, not fighting, just moving, and talked like I was on a porch with the engine idling. For the record, I changed things. No names on open air, not mine, not yours, not my kids. No schools, no team schedules, no plates read aloud for a laugh. No reading loads, routes, ETAs like a weather report. If I wouldn't tape it on my front door, I don't say it on 19. I kept it short, not a lecture, just a map. Red flags. If you see them on your rig, rip them down. Stickers with links and cute QR squares. Unknown device pings you pretend aren't about you. ELD screenshots and sunrise selfies. The Friday jokes that give away you're always at the same diner, same room, same corner. A breath. Hygiene, simple. Turn on Bluetooth alerts and actually look at them. Clear paired devices. Once a month, crawl under the frame with a light and your pride. Kill live location sharing. Delay your posts by hours. Blur the paperwork. Make a code phrase with your people. So, everything's fine can mean pull me out now. The phone lit the cab like a match. Hollow didn't bother with hello. Clean, he said, a rasp and a smile tucked inside it. Admin in cuffs, mirrors seized, logs bagged, you can go home. I didn't key up right away. I watched a stoplight work through its colors on an empty intersection. Green to yellow to red. The world's still obeying simple rules if you give it room. Back at the yard, I passed a buddy in his cab, scrolling bored, killing time before a load. His screen flashed a pinned message. Small, blue, familiar. Mirror up? He frowned, flicked it away like lint. The CB on my dash was dark, a black square that remembered voices. I looked at it and left it off. We build bridges to the ones who chase us, I said, mostly to the rain. All we have to do is stop forgetting the guardrails. Story 3. I kept the rig moving, rain whispering along the hood, empty cup shivering in its holder every time the pavement stitched. The dash threw soft blue onto the wet glass. Mile markers slid by like dim beads on a wire. I rubbed the frayed ribbon tied to my mirror. 2 tight knots, 1 loose. Casey's old superstition I never undid. I told myself I was just keeping her close. Truth is, I promised her boy I'd mail his diploma in the morning. No detours, no nonsense. Just the main line and a post office at dawn. Engine low, road steady, I said under my breath, a little gauge check prayer. The motor answered with a velvet hum. CB-19 hissed, blinked, and bit. Carrier noise, then a woman. Breaker 19. Hey, flat shoe? The childhood handle I ditched before I could shave. Said exactly like my uncle used to tease. Then, God help me, she laughed. 2 beats, back to back, a quick grin of a sound. Casey's laugh, the one she'd drop when I missed a gear and tried to pretend I hadn't. Got a breakdown up by Briar Lake frontage, she said, crowding the words like they might roll away. Need a hand, soon as you can. Briar Lake frontage. I tasted the map in my head. There's Briar Lake. There's a frontage road a dozen miles off, but nobody local calls it that, not with the lake name first. And that chuckle, perfect but placed like a sticker, too clean, too arranged. Copy you, I said, slow. Where you sitting exactly? I throttled not at all. The ribbon ticked the mirror with each seam in the road. She came back too quick. Feeder by the, Briar Lake frontage, eastbound. Feeder? We don't say feeder out here. Not for frontage. That's a different state talking. The wipers knifed another sheet of rain. My foot stayed where it was. Engine low, road steady, I said again. Quieter, like telling it to myself would pin the night in place. I didn't stop. I eased a hair off the throttle, just enough to let the beam rake the shoulder. And the world narrowed to wet gravel, a slice of guardrail, and one bright triangle biting back at me like a cat's eye. Orange, perfect, planted square to oncoming traffic. 10 yards beyond it, a little blinking puck, cool, white, steady, blink, steady. Like a heartbeat someone set on the ground, and walked away from. No crumpled fender, no steam, no human outline doing the I'm okay wave. Just props on a stage. Ahead, the green of an exit sign took rain and threw it back wrong. Too new, too satin. The letters were right, but not right. The J a touch smug, the 3-0 little flat-footed. Someone's overlay. Clean as a sheet tucked over a bed that isn't there. Breaker 19, flat shoe, I see your lights. Her voice came bright as a flare, too close, too certain. You're right on me. Please don't leave. I rolled past at a lawful 45, hands quiet on the wheel. The CB's squelch-tailed. A whisper too long. In the mirror, the kind that turns everything honest, something in the tree line shifted. Not wind, not deer. More like a fence unlatched and dragged 2 feet left. Blink. The puck threw 3 pulses, then held steady, like it knew I was watching. Guilt clamped a palm around my chest. I could picture Casey already. Boots out, jacket up, grin in the rain, calling me a saint or an idiot depending on the night. The ribbon ticked the mirror. The engine sang its low, forgiving line. Engine low, road steady, I breathed. Promise in the morning. Mail the diploma. Keep the main line. I logged the mile math. 191 at the triangle, 192 at the counterfeit green. Voice said she saw me, but the shoulder stayed empty, clean as a lie polished for Sunday. I passed. I didn't slow again. The road ran like a black ribbon, mine to keep, engine low, road steady. Then she came back on, bright and bossy. Flat shoe, feather to 30, 8 in stage. That pause, like a hiccup between thought and number, sat wrong in my ear. Feather. She meant ease the speed, kiss it down. Stage. She meant hold position like you're lining up a dock, not helping on a shoulder. Warehouse words, not roadside words. I thumbed the dial, clicked off 19 to 21 to 9 to 17. Let the carrier hiss, rinse the cab. 2 heartbeats later, she followed. Same pitch, same pasted chuckle. But the tail on her squelch dragged a quarter second too long, like a door that doesn't quite catch. Copy. Flat shoe. 30, 8. Stage. There it was again. The pause before numbers. The sticker perfect laugh. Wrong radio perfume, I muttered. A relay will leave edges. Tiny timing seams. Real mouths don't do that, not twice the same way. I told the air. Negative. I'm staying mainline. Plain English for anyone half dozing out here. Mainline means the interstate. No exits, no cutoffs. If you need assistance, call State Patrol with your milepost. Milepost. Those little green numbers that don't lie when the big signs do. Silence. Then, you're close. I can see your lamps. I looked. Nothing but my own glow walking the guardrail. Far back, the beacon puck flickered. 2 slow blinks. 1, then dead. The tree line, which had been sitting like a dog told to stay, seemed to settle. Branches easing where they'd been tugged. A fence back on its notch. The hair along my forearms cooled. I held the wheel with one hand, reached up with the other, and tapped record. 10 seconds. Carrier hiss, her wrong-timed number, that neat little laugh. Enough to be something later. I saved the clip, named it simple. 19, clip 1, and breathed with the motor. Engine low, road steady, I said, again, softer, like a man petting a horse that wants to spook. The night opened its hand, and 2 white cones bloomed out of it, clean and surgical, like the sky sprouted eyes. Not floodlights, narrower, tighter, and drifting. Drones. I could hear them only in the way the light behaved. No spill, no kindness. One cone walked the hood numbers, the other skimmed the plate and held, cold finger counting. I felt cataloged, height, width, speed, like produce on a belt. CB coughed. Her voice came calm as paperwork. Flat shoe. Take the next exit if you want to keep the cab whole. No pleading now, no tremble. Just an invoice on the wind. Engine low, road steady, I said, to find the rhythm, and the motor gave it back. Steady, steady, while those cones skimmed the seam between glass and rain. Ahead, a green sign leaned just shy of true, like a picture hung by a tired man. I knew that trick now. Print a promise, hang it crooked, hope the night will fix the rest. Then, behind me, deep as a hiccup in the lane, two hazards flickered, real ones. Orange and honest, low to the ground, like somebody in trouble 3/4 of a mile back. My hand moved without asking, shoulder tightening for the signal. Turn, loop, maybe you can. Feeder. Eastbound feeder by Briar Lake frontage, she said, too quick. And there was that little stall before the number in her next breath. 38, stage. The wrong turn, the wrong order, the signature pause, as if language were a suit she hadn't hemmed right. My hand came off the blinker. I could feel Casey's ribbon tick the mirror. 1, 2, like a metronome that believed in me. I reached over, killed guidance. No map, no arrow, just road and rain. Skipping exits became a rule, not a whim. Miles stack better when you stack them on purpose. Stay mainline, eyes up, I said aloud, so the cab could hear it. I let the drones drift with me, cones breathing in and out, while the honest hazards fell away behind. Someone else's good men, I hoped, already on their way. I rolled the dial to 17, old habit, old refuge. Pressed the bar. 17 long copy, I said, letting the motor be my backbeat. Got cones in the sky and paper on the signs. Anyone riding west with a clean nose, come up. A voice answered quick, gravel and caffeine. Hammerline here, one back, closing. Another, lower, easy as a porch hinge. Pennyroyal, 2 miles out. I'll light your 6. And like that, beams layered. 1, then 2. Headlights found me, matched my rhythm, settled into a stagger so we were 3 notes on the same line. Engine low, road steady, I said into the glass. Half for me, half for them. Check your posts, DOT greens. If they look taped, they probably are. We ran a mile and caught one. A milepost with a neat gray band around its middle like a hospital bracelet. Pennyroyal spat it plain. They skinned it. Hammerline laughed once, no joy in it. They skinned the big boards too. Type's got no spine. Jay looks church clean. Greenskins, I said. Overlays. Ignore 'em. Up ahead, the shoulder yawed into a mouth, not a proper exit, just a gravel gape with a tidy new arrow sign doing its best impression of state truth. The drones drifted higher, watchful angels with bad theology. The fake lane grinned wider in the rain. Hammerline twitched, left signal blinking twice, habit tugging him like a leash. Don't take that, I snapped, more father than friend. It's paper, not road. He caught himself, wheels humming the white line. I dropped half a lane, Pennyroyal eased the other way, and we straddled the mouth, big and bright and uninvitable. The arrow sign shivered in our wash. Duress phrase, I said, breathing it calm. If we get leaned on, say, mirrors warm, means we're hot and we move together. 2 radios clicked. Affirmation without chatter. We kept recording, CB rolling, dash cams eating rain, while the drones floated up another breath, their cones thinning to pale thoughts in the mist. Stay mainline. Eyes up, I said, and the three of us said it back without words. We idled under the way station awning, rain ticking like a metronome on sheet metal, lamp hum setting a soft ceiling over our voices. The engine settled into a low purr, a warm animal in a cold shed. Pennyroyal pulled alongside, Hammerline took the far bay. 3 red glows on wet concrete. The world, for a moment, small enough to hold. I opened the glove box, slid out the cheap laptop, cable to the dash cam, cable to the phone. The GPS breadcrumb trail, normally a clean ribbon, showed jumps. Little chess moves toward a dead industrial loop that nobody uses after sundown. See that? I said, dragging a finger from the interstate to a cul-de-sac that looked like a question mark. Spoof push, 2 clicks west of truth. Phone screen next, a list of known networks. Between station Wi-Fi and nothing at all, a ghost entry in the recent log, BL FRNT BCN. Seen once for 20 seconds and gone. That's our beacon, I said. Short-lived SSID. They light it to handshake passing phones, then kill it. Copy, Hammerline breathed. The lamp hummed. Rain stitched the pauses. I hit the dial for State Patrol, voice steady. Westbound, 3 units. We're at the official post under the west awning. Mile marker 193, 2/10. We've got overlays on exits, tape on mileposts, and drone activity. We can share dashcam right now. We pushed the files, timestamps, lane view, the fake arrow, the taped post. The trooper's voice came back clean. Hold your spot. Units en route. Back on 17, I keyed up. State is rolling. We're parked at a real post facing west. Her voice slid in like a smile you don't trust. Copy. Mirror burned. The word hit with a dry click. Shop talk, not roadside talk. I let a breath go, then gave it back to her, flat and friendly. Mirror burned, yeah. We're warm on the glass. Silence. Then the relay tail flinched and died. She hung. I saved the clip. Voice, video, logs. The rain wrote dots across the windshield like ellipses we'd already finished. Engine low, road steady, I said. Because it was. Because we were. Dawn came in gradients. Ink to steel to milk, until the awning gave up its shadow and the rain turned to a soft whisper. The troopers stood square under the fluorescence. We laid the night on the table. CB-19, clip 1, I said, sliding the file over. Her 2-beat chuckle, the number pause, the wrong word for a local road. Dashcam, front and sides. Hammerline added the fake arrow and the almost turn. Pennyroyal handed over the taped milepost, the drone cones peeling high like indifferent stars. Coordinates, timestamps, the ghost SSID, the jumps toward the dead loop. The trooper nodded, no drama, just good bones doing a job. We'll peel the skins and pull the poles, he said. You boys kept it clean. I took a breath I didn't know I'd been saving. Engine low, road steady, I said. And the motor agreed. Warmer now, less iron, more human. The sun found me at the little post office where the clerk knows my name. I slid a padded envelope across the counter, Casey's boy's diploma, and watched it disappear into the honest machinery of the world. On the way back to the rig, the ribbon tapped the mirror once, twice. Like a goodbye that wasn't sad. Not every trap hides in the bushes. Plenty are printed on signs. Story 4. Under the dock awning, rain tapped, and the fluorescent hummed while my clipboard said, in red, "Do not open under any circumstance." The place looked cheap. Cinder block walls sweating, a bent safety cone, a forklift that coughed like a smoker. My trailer kissed the dock. The reefer display held steady, 38 degrees Fahrenheit. A perfect little green halo in the wet. I said it out loud just to lock it in. 3838. The kind of number you carry in your mouth like a prayer. A kid in a reflective vest shoved papers at me. Vaccines, time critical. You're good to go. Just sign here. He wouldn't meet my eyes. The seal they snapped on the doors looked too new, too clean, like it hadn't seen a day of dust. Cash envelope slid across the clipboard. Bonus for keeping it sealed and quiet. He actually said the word quiet like it came with instructions. Rain drummed harder. My dispatcher barked through the phone. Window closes at 6:45. Copy? Miss it and they nail us for penalties. I looked at my watch, did the math, pictured the miles like beads on a rosary. Copy. Then I added the promise I'd already made to myself and to her. Call my daughter before 7:30. Her court thing, a dumb fine that wasn't dumb to her. I told her I'd be there on the line, steady as lane markers. I walked the nose of the truck, habit, hand on the grill, palm to steel. There it was, faint and thin, like a memory. Bleach with a metallic edge. The smell of coins rubbed between two fingers. Not the trailer, the cab. It flashed through and was gone in the rain. I shrugged it off. Warehouse funk, mop bucket, whatever. Back under the awning, I pressed the reefer button just to hear it say it again. 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Steady. The clipboard was heavy in my hand. The red stamp shouted. My signature whispered. I climbed into the seat, shut the door, and let the night seal around me. I kept the rig rolling, the engine's steady growl filling the cab, and the night pressed close. The highway was a slick ribbon, tail lights like faraway embers, and I let the cruise sit just shy of the limit. 10 minutes out, and the first tap started behind my eyes. Not a stab, more like a slow thumb pressing. Pressing a headache that wore soft shoes. I blamed coffee and the rain glare. Happens. Long nights shake hands with bad caffeine. You shrug and keep moving. Then the sound. A tiny scrape behind my seat. Quick, nervous, the kind of noise that makes you glance at the mirrors, then at the trailer, then at yourself. I reached back at a light. Fingertips found the culprit. My key ring, jittering against the plastic, dancing to the road's hum like it had its own heartbeat. All right, I told myself. Settle down. The reefer ticked along in the mirror, little green eye steady. Set point 38, seal intact, fresh air later. I said it the way you'd talk to a skittish horse, slow, the words smoothing the night. 38, 38. Taste hit next, metal, pennies on the tongue. You ever hold change in your palm too long and then lick your lips? That. I rolled my shoulders, drank water, blamed the old thermos. Should have rinsed it, idiot. The ringing joined in. Barely there, a whisper tea kettle somewhere behind the dash. Road noise, I told myself. Wet tires sing, so what? White line, white line. And then I felt the nudge, a soft brrr under my left tires. Rumble strip. The wheel pulsed, the seat shook. My chest did that cold drop you get on a ladder when your boot slips. I breathed out, corrected, easy hands, dead center again. Wake up, I said, eyes forward. I checked the clock and the math. 3 hours, 10 minutes to the dock window. Enough if I don't get cute. Enough if the night behaves. The engine droned, steady as breath. And I swallowed the coins in my mouth and kept going. I shut the engine and stepped out. Night wind with crickets took over the quiet. The lot was a half-lit gravel square behind a closed diner, one vapor lamp buzzing, a soda can rolling lazy circles in the breeze. I walked back along the trailer, palms grazing the rivets like braille, and then I saw it. A dark drip threading down from the right door seam and puddling by the bumper. Thick, slow, black in this light. My stomach went cold. Blood, that was the word my head picked. Blood where no blood should be. The red stamp flashed behind my eyes. Do not open. And every story I ever heard about sealed loads took a chair inside my skull. I thumbed my flashlight on, a hard white cone, and crouched. The bead caught the light and blinked green. Not red, not brown, greenish, with that chemical sheen. I followed it to the edge, traced it up past the gasket, and found a guilty little jug wedged crooked under the sill. Coolant, cracked cap, tracer dye painting a slow tear down the threshold. I breathed, in, out, a laugh that wasn't a laugh. Not blood, not tonight. Relief came in a wave, then the wave tilted. The ground leaned a few degrees left, or maybe I did. Dizziness brushed past like a stranger's shoulder. I stood too fast, and the night went cotton soft at the edges. Wind stroked the aluminum and made the roof whisper. A breathy hiss through the deflector like someone talking just out of frame. I closed my eyes, listened. It was only air, only angles. The reefer hummed steady. The little green number glowed through the corner window. 38, 38. If the trailer's fine and I'm not, check the cab, I told myself. Said it slowly, like teaching a kid to cross a street. My phone buzzed, dispatcher, and I took the call. Yeah, I'm rolling. The words came out a shade late, like my tongue wore gloves. He didn't notice, or pretended not to. Window still 0645, he said. Copy, I answered, a syllable thick, and killed the light. Crickets, wind, me a little off center, time to get air. Back on the road, the engine droned. The cab felt smaller than it should. The smell, that thin bleach and coins thread, kept tugging. My head pulsed in time with the wipers. I told myself one dumb sentence. Open it, and you'll feel better. Just a peek. Just to know. The red stamp lived behind my eyelids. Do not open. But fear is a locksmith with a steady hand. I eased onto a wide shoulder under a dead billboard, hazards ticking like a metronome. Rain tapered to a mist, the kind that makes everything quiet. I climbed down, grabbed the bolt cutters from the side box, cold handles, big jaw, and walked the length of the trailer with my breath fogging. Set point 38, seal intact. The little green glow in the side window said it again. Patient, 38, 38. I stood at the doors. The new seal winked at me. Factory fresh, no smudges. All I had to do was bite down, snap, swing the bar, and the question would be dead. The cutters rose. My arms knew the motion. And then, from the cab, I saw it. A soft blink under the dash. Blue-white, mosquito small. I froze, lowered the cutters, walked back slow. The cheap CO alarm I'd velcroed under there a year ago, the one I forgot until I needed it, was strobing. I pressed the button with my thumb. It chirped, cycled, spoke in those blunt little numbers. Peak, 38, 38 ppm. Current, 62, 62 ppm. The room, no, the cab, got very clear. Headache, ringing, coins on my tongue. Lane drift back there, words dragging their feet on the dispatcher call. Not monsters, not trailer trouble. Carbon monoxide. The false fix fell apart like wet paper. I checked the clock. 1 hour, 55 minutes to the dock window. A penalty breathing down my neck like an open freezer. I put the cutters on the seat, a guilty dog, and said it out loud, slow enough to stick. Fresh air beats fresh penalties. Keys in, engine idling, but this time with purpose. Windows down, recirc off, vents open. I turned the rig toward air. I killed the motor and let the night wind and crickets sweep the cab clean. Before that, rolling. I did it in order, out loud, slow enough to land. Recirc off, vents open, windows down, heater, fresh air, sleeper hatch, cracked. Again with breath between each. Recirc off, vents open, windows down, heater, fresh air, sleeper hatch, cracked. Cold air shouldered in, rain smell, tarmac, a little pine. The coins on my tongue thinned. The tinnitus stepped back a half room. I kept it steady to the next safe pull-off, an empty hangar lot, dark ribs of steel against a washed-out moon. I nosed in, squared the wheels, and set the brakes like a period at the end of a sentence. Engine off. Reefer humming behind me, steady, 38, 38. I opened both doors wide so the night could move through me. The hatch over the bunk grinned a finger's width. Air took the shape of a river. The cab turned into a culvert. The CO alarm blinked, thought about it, then chirped a number I liked. 22, 20, 19 ppm. I leaned back against the seat, eyes closed, palms on knees. Headache unwound, not gone, but looser. The edges of the world came back into focus like wipers clearing a windshield. Fog still in the brain pan, though, soft and sticky. Gravel crunched. A security truck rolled slow along the fence line, that private company livery, a plastic light bar yawning instead of flashing. It idled near my open door, window down, a silhouette looking me over. I didn't move for the door, didn't get cute. Kept my hands visible, chest calm. Reached for the clipboard, held it where he could see through the rain dots on the glass. Sealed medical cargo, I said, steady. CO symptoms, venting the cab. Reefer stays powered. He stared at the paperwork, then at the wide open truck breathing like a lung. A beat, two. All right, he said, a nod I felt more than saw, and rolled on. I checked the alarm again, 18, 17, and let the night keep sweeping me clean. Time to be sure. I closed the doors, not all the way, just enough to make the test honest. Then did the thing you never do unless you're hunting a ghost. Engine idling, cabin heater on, fan up 2 clicks. I watched the cheap little CO screen like a heart monitor. It woke fast. 21, 28, 37, 49, rising like a bad tide. I killed the fan. It stalled, then crept. I cracked the door. It eased. Heater back on and 56, 56 ppm. That's not superstition. That's plumbing. Heater exhaust flex whistling into the HVAC somewhere. Or a failed grommet letting the tailpipe breathe straight into my lungs. I shut it all down, doors wide, sucked the night like medicine. Checked the clock, 50 minutes to the dock window, 5-0, and less than that to my daughter's 0730 call window, sliding closed. The math was simple. The heart wasn't. Fresh air beats fresh penalties, I said, one more time to make it stick, and thumbed 911. Calm voice, short words. Truck driver, probable CO exposure. Sealed medical cargo marked vaccines. At the old hangar lot off mile 213, request police to secure load. They asked about symptoms. I listed them: headache, ringing, metallic taste, mild slur earlier. And the numbers. Peak 6-2, current 3-1 with doors open. ER next. I called ahead, told them I was inbound, breathing air, reefer running, not opening anything. They said, come now. That's the order you don't argue with. Last call, the one that mattered. My girl picked up on the second ring. I'm gonna be late, I said, voice steady, throat tight. But I'll be there. A beat. Be there, she echoed. No anger, just trust. And that hurt in the best way. I put the truck in gear, turned not toward the dock, but toward the hospital. Blew signs like little promises in the rain, and let the penalties howl behind me. Under the ER awning, rain ticked, the lamp hummed, while paperwork tried to catch up with the night. They clipped a sensor on my finger, rolled me under soft lights, and pulled blood like it was a pit stop. The doctor spoke the way good mechanics do, clean, no polish. Moderate CO exposure, she said, tapping the chart. Your carboxyhemoglobin is up. Think of it this way. Carbon monoxide sits in your red cells like a rude passenger and crowds out oxygen. Colorless, no smell, rides for free. I nodded, head light, chest heavy, and breathed through a mask that tasted like a new tent. Numbers trended down, minute by minute, like fog lifting off a lake. Outside, police did their part. Seized the trailer, logged the tamper-fresh seal, photographed the labels. The word vaccines didn't survive the morning. Gray market blood and plasma, falsified paperwork. Shipper a shell with a phone tree that rang to nowhere. Reefer stayed humming at 38-38 under a blue-white dawn. Back at the yard, later, steady on my feet. The shop pulled my dash apart. Heater, exhaust flex, hairline crack, a grommet that had given up last winter and nobody noticed. They replaced both, new clamps, new sealant, and I watched like a man learning how a lock works after he's been robbed. Then I did the thing I wish someone had done for me. Hit record and spoke a driver's checklist into my phone. Keep a CO detector. Check peak memory. Symptoms? Fresh air first, recirc off, windows down, engine off, in that order. Log PBM and time, call 911 and ER ahead. Hospital beats dock. Reefer logs protect you, pride doesn't. Post-incident, pressure test, HVS, heat, inspect exhaust routing, replace bad grommets. I sent it to 3 rookies and 1 old hand who still jokes about headaches. After court, I called my daughter, properly, no rush, no rain, and listened longer than I talked. She laughed once, a small, clean sound, and it felt like oxygen. There were no monsters in the trailer. The monster was in my cab, a colorless gas, and my stubbornness. And now I know its name. Story 5. If the second breath is not mine, if it rises in my chest and falls somewhere under the floorboards, I do not stop. That is the rule I wish I had the first time. Tonight it is late enough that the highway looks like a wet ribbon laid over a sleeping animal. And the only honest thing about it is the rain. Steady, unjudging, the kind that smooths every guilty thought into one long shine. I pull off for fuel because the needle has been flirting with empty since the last county line, and because my hands want something hot to hold. The pump stutters. The receipt spits out slick and warm, $23.41, and I fold it once, then again, as if disappearing time between my fingers could make the night easier to swallow. The steering wheel is tacky with the sweat of 100 other nights, and the plastic mount that holds my navigator has a spider crack through it, one long white vein from corner to corner, and whenever the truck idles, that vein seems to pulse. Inside the station, it smells like old mop water, and the wing sauce they serve out of a heating tray at 2 in the morning when no one is sober enough to argue. The cashier keeps his shoulders tucked in as if he is making himself a smaller target. He watches the rain as if it owes him an apology. I order coffee and he pours it like a priest. "Smoked," he says, flat, not even a smile. I blink. "Excuse me?" He taps the pot with a fingernail like he is testing a melon. Folks keep saying my coffee tastes like somebody hung it in a smokehouse. Smoked coffee. I lift the lid, breathe the steam. It does have that little campfire ghost to it, like something charred at the edge. Maybe it learned to breathe outside, I say, and we both hear how odd that sounds. He looks at me a second too long, then slides back my change. "Roads mean in rain," he says. "Count your exits." 10 seconds, maybe less. But his voice rides with me when I go back out into the wet and climb into the cab. I set the cup in the holder. It wobbles in a ring of brown that never dries, and rub my thumb across the crack in the navigator mount until my skin squeaks. Out there past the sodium lamps of the lot is nothing but blackness and the red pulse of an antenna tower. It is the kind of night you can get lost in your own lane. The wipers beat heavy and the rain answers. I pull out and the highway swallows me like a quiet throat. There is a point on every run where the road becomes a confession booth. And if you sit long enough with your hands at 10 and 2 and your mind doing small circles, the thing you do not want to say will start to say itself. Mine always begins the same way, with the shape of a person in the rear view and the choice I made. A year ago, the same storm it feels like, the same hush between semis. I saw her thumb out of the curtains of rain, and I did an unwise thing. I stopped. I remember the slap of the hazard lights on the wet, how she leaned into the passenger window with her hood dripping like a gutter, how she smiled with her mouth and not her eyes. Her name was Darcy Hammond. She told me twice, because the first time got lost under the hiss of the rain and the little radio whisper the interstate keeps to itself. Darcy Hammond. She did not ask for far. She said, "Just the next town, anywhere with lights, anywhere dry." I said yes before I thought. Then I looked up and saw another pair of headlights holding back in the dark shoulder, not doing quite the speed they should, not closing, just keeping, watching. You accumulate a drawer full of truck stop stories in this life. Stings, setups, a friend of a friend who picked up somebody and woke up without his tires, without his wallet, without 2 hours of his life. And those stories do not sound like lies when you are looking at a pair of patient headlights and you are hauling what I was hauling. The boxes behind me were legally boring, cataloged, labeled, nothing to sell out of a trunk. And still, I had signed my name under a list of timings and temperatures and delivery windows that sounded like a thin ice sermon. Do not be late again. Do not misplace. Do not detour. Last chance. I watched Darcy Hammond's rain-dark hair cling to her cheek and her hand on the door glass and the other car idling that patient idle that is not exactly idle. And something small and mean flinched inside me. Not mean like cruelty, mean like fear with a job to do. I told her I could not. I told her I was sorry in a voice that did not sound like mine. When I pulled away, the truck felt heavier than it had any right to, like I was dragging a boat. I watched the other headlights fold out of the shoulder and vanish in the mirror, like they had never been. I kept telling myself I had chosen safe. The radio did that late-night trick where it finds a station you did not intend. A church voice, a farm report, someone saying the words storm front and fatality like they belonged in the same sentence. And when the morning came, and the news came with it, the words were small and hard. Body found near mile marker 213, female. They did not say her name, but my head did. I have been driving with that silent passenger for a year. Tonight the highway is a slick ribbon, and my eyelids keep trying to close one at a time. Left, then right, like a bad set of blinds. Somewhere after the county sign, I pass the same 2 billboards 3 times. One for fireworks, one for an attorney with the smile of a coyote, and decide the road is folding in on itself just enough that I should not be in the middle of it. There is a cutoff I do not remember. A narrow mouth carved into the trees with a naked sign that has been shot twice. Private road, do not stop. The words are like a dare. I tell myself, an hour, just an hour. No heroics, no dreams. I signal out of habit, though there is no one to watch me, and ease the rig into the dark like it is a quieter lake beside a river. The rain sounds different between the trees, closer, softened. And the gravel does something strange under my tires, not crunching, not muddy, a kind of give, like stepping on a sponge. I back into what might pass for a small pull-off. An old logging cut, maybe, the stumps gone soft and dark. And kill the lights. The cab sighs. The world outside has the hush of a closed mouth. In the quiet, the truck's own noises tell you the truth about how old it is. The plastic that never stops contracting, the little portable fan with the case that ticks like a cheap watch, the tiny refrigerator clearing its throat every 3 minutes. I take a sip of what the cashier called smoked coffee. It has gone bitter in exactly the way that makes you remember the heat, and set it back in its ring. The receipt with 2341 on it has bled a faint gray into my palm. I press it into the dash like a tiny paper anchor. Sleep slides in sideways if you let it. First your neck goes, then your shoulder. Then you find your hands have forgotten they were ever supposed to be alive. I pull the curtain only halfway because there is a window you earn when you have done enough miles. The one you can look out of with only your right eye and see the way the dark arranges itself. I mean to count backward from 100 and do not make it past 90. The last thing I think is that the rain might knock me into mercy. The first thing I feel when I wake is that I am not alone. It is not the cab. The cab is empty and still. And it is not the shoulder of the road or the black trees. What wakes me is under my feet. It is a soft, slow pressure that finds the bones through the rubber mat, presses and releases, presses and releases. Nothing violent, nothing that would throw a body. A breath. A breath coming from beneath the floor, as if the ground itself is conducting air. The crack in the navigator mount, that white vein, seems to throb in rhythm with it. I hold very still, and the breath holds with me. I shift, and it answers, a beat late, as if it is listening to the shape of me and learning the count. The windows have filmed with moisture from the inside, a steady hush of fog blooming where the glass meets the rubber. When I draw a line through it with my finger, the line fills itself in again, the way a cut does when the blood is patient. Somewhere beyond the glass, the rain insists on a truth I cannot name. The radio is a faithful coward. It does not want to find a frequency when the night is thick. And still the speaker hisses like a creature that would rather speak than keep the peace. A voice enters that hiss the way a knife point enters cloth, precise, unemotional, so even that it sounds like an instrument more than a person. "Driver," the voice says, and the word lies down flat in the cab. I do not answer. "Driver," the voice says again, as if we have time to be polite. I bring my mouth close to the mic out of an old reflex. The voice, dry, medical, each verb measured, lays the rules one by one, and each one lands with the weight of something practiced 1,000 times. The ground breathes memory. Confession deepens the pull. Trade spreads it. I do not know I am holding my breath until the end of the third sentence, and then the air inside me feels suddenly like contraband. "Who is this?" I say. The words come out smaller than I intend. "What are you?" The voice does not pause in the human way, with breath between words, with thought. It holds and then continues. Same tone, same distance. And then the windshield speaks. Not with sound, with a gesture. A smear rises out of the fog on the inside of the glass, collecting itself grain by grain, dirt where there should be none. Shaping, deciding, until the letters sit there in a patient line, like they have all the time in the world. Lie down. The rain does not change. The breath beneath my feet does not change. Only my name inside my mouth changes. It tastes like a promise I have tried to make to no one. I lean forward until my breath fogs the letters, and I can smell the iron of the dirt. The voice on the radio does not push, does not coax. It waits in that same hospital tone, like the next words are a diagnosis, and I have already signed the consent. Outside, the trees hold their wet counsel, and the road that told me not to stop folds itself behind me like a closed book. I sit with the words, "Lie down," and the old story of Darcy Hammond, and the new story that is growing under the truck like a lung. And I count my breaths, 1, 2, and wonder, with the stupidity of a man who has already made his choice, whether the second one is mine. I open the door a crack, and the rain presses its face to it like a curious child. Then I climb down, and the night folds over me. And the first step I take tells me the ground has a memory longer than mine. Gravel should complain. It doesn't. It gives with a damp hush, then firms, then gives again, as if there's a lung under the skin of it, learning my weight. I keep the cab in my peripheral, a lit rectangle, a last warm square in a field that wants to erase edges, and walk along the tree line until the rain changes its mind. There's a boundary. It isn't a fence or a ditch. It's a feeling. And as soon as I cross it, the rain is gone. Not behind me. I can still hear it working the needles, stitching the forest together. But where I stand, the air is bare and the earth is dry. Dry in a way that looks older than the storm. The mud stops in a torn hem around my boots. In front of me, the ground is open cracked like a mouth that has forgotten water, a dry mouth, each fissure red at the edges, black in the throat. I breathe and dust answers. Something metal shows its shoulder through a coat of lichen. A mirror, then a door edge. Then the shape becomes the whole of it. A truck, not mine, not recent. A rig settled so deep, the dirt has learned the seam of it. The cab window is opaque with a skin of mineral. I put my palm to the glass, and it is the wrong temperature, warm like an animal. The door yields a stale inch when I pull. A smell comes out that should belong to a hayloft after a fire. In the glove box, I find paper that has turned to leaves and a chain that never will. A little oval tag that clinks against my fingernail. D. Hammond. The letters are clean where my thumb rubs them, not rust, not yet. As if they waited for me to polish them into a name. Darcy Hammond. Saying it out loud feels like walking back into the story I took the exit to avoid. There's a cup in the holder, paper long since gone soft, then hard again. And across the sagging side of it, in a black marker's cheerful hand, 3 crooked letters still readable through the fuzz of time. Smoked. It is such a small joke to survive the weather, and it calls up the small moment that made it. I see her again the way she leaned into my window that night. Rain dripping from the tip of her hood, and how she tried to blow the steam off the gas station coffee and ended up coughing on it, laughing without showing teeth. "They brewed this in a chimney," she said. And then, lower, like she was telling the coffee, not me. "Smoked coffee." She had that way of touching the ends of her hood strings like she was tidying the weather itself. And when I said I could put on some music just to chase the silence out of the cab, she asked for something older than both of us. Like that narrowed it down. I put on a station that knew the chords everyone knows how to drive to, and she drummed 2 fingers on the plastic of the door, tap, tap. And the sound had a good road in it. That's the version I carry. The woman who made the coffee into a joke, who tapped the rain into time. Not the headline that made my name taste like iron. I slip the tag into my pocket like I'm borrowing it and close the glove box gently. I don't want to wake the thing that made this place dry. On the way back to the line where the rain resumes, I look up into the branches and see them shining with water. And I look down, and the dust is rising around my boots in little ghosts. 2 weathers arguing over me, and neither winning. The first drops touch my shoulders again like a blessing I don't deserve. The cab is right where I left it, square, patient. And I climb back in and shut the door, and the wet sound of the world is all on the outside again. The inside has changed in a way a camera would miss. The cushion on the passenger side shows a shallow valley where no one sat. A depression darkened to shade, the fabric carrying the shape of a weight I did not invite. And there's a strand of hair laying where the shoulder would have been, black and wet, caught in the seam like a note tucked in a hymnal. It smells like rain, warmed by a person. That faint, caught sun scent you only get in the first hour after coming in from weather. I set my hand in the hollow, and it is cooler than the rest of the seat, like a shadow. "Darcy Hammond," I say, because the cab is a church now, and names are what you put in the air when you want the truth to sit down and be seen. The radio gives a little non-committal hiss. I do not speak the rest. I do not say I left you breathing in the dark. That part does not require my voice. It arrives without it, in the place between sound and thought, where the inside of a word brushes the inside of your ear. A whisper you feel on your own, inhale more than hear on your skin. You left me breathing in the dark. It's not an accusation. It's a measurement, like rain on a ruler. My mouth opens to answer, and that's when the small trick happens that takes the floor away from under your reason. I pick up the phone. Not the radio, the phone. Because somewhere in me, the old roads are still mapped to the old numbers, and the body knows how to dial help even when the mind has burned the bridge. My thumb hovers over 9. And in the speaker, as clear as if someone else has my voice on a string, I hear myself say, "I need help on a private road off 7, in my cadence, with my tiredness built into it. And then, a heartbeat late, still with my thumb above the glass, the words climb out of me for real. I need help on a private road off 7. It is like watching your mouth in a delayed mirror. The line clicks its little formal click, the kind operators use when they want you to know the machine is the part listening. And I ask, "Can you hear me?" Because that is what you ask when what you mean is, "Do I still exist?" The answer is my voice, an inch ahead of me, stepping into the dark to see if the floor is there. I look at the wet strand on the seat and the hollow it marks and the tag in my palm. "Darcy Hammond," I say again, and the cab feels smaller. Rain threads the trees like a loom, and the windshield tightens its skin of breath until a fingernail-thin trail writes itself downward out of nowhere, hesitates, and disappears, like a tear you imagine. I press the phone to my ear and listen for a stranger. I get myself. I set the phone down slowly, because you respect a thing that knows how to be you without asking. The ground under the cab is steady. Press and release, press and release. Patient as a bedtime story. I let the rhythm count for me, because my brain has lost the numbers. 1, 2, and somewhere between them a voice that is not the dispatcher and not the woman I failed steps through the rain like a doctor in clean shoes, the same measured tone that hates adjectives and loves results. But that belongs to me now, the way a shadow belongs to a body. And I understand. With the ease that frightens more than the struggle ever could. How a place like this can talk a man into laying down where the breath is. The rain had its own grammar back here. Longer sentences, no punctuation. And the trees bent their heads to listen. I took the narrow track away from the cab because it felt like the ground beneath my feet knew my name too well. And I needed a patch that didn't. The flashlight's cone made a tunnel out of the wet, and then, there, the beam slid over something that refused to be only green and black. A curve of chrome, a familiar angle in the dark, the blunt shoulder of a hood. I knew the way a man knows the bones in his own hand. Moss had swallowed it, not draped, swallowed. The grill tufted like an old grave, the mirrors wearing velvet, the badges furred over until the letters turned to shadows. My license plate number slept under a skin of lichen. My little cracked navigator mount, the white vein through the plastic, showed through the glass, haloed by a bloom of condensation that looked like a fungus choosing a window. It was my truck, twice, the one I had left cooling behind me, and this older one, as if the woods had been rehearsing me for years. I put my palm to the moss on the door and felt the truth of plants, not cold, not warm, just busy. The handle moved with a sticky courtesy, and the door opened half as far as I asked. Inside smelled like someone took rain apart and kept only the part that clings to breath. The seat had collapsed around a body that was not there. The dash was the color of a pond left too long in shade, and hanging from the mirror by a string that once pretended to be leather was the same faded tree-shaped air freshener I had stopped smelling sometime in another life. The keys were in the ignition. The key fob had the same nick from the same day I dropped the set on a yard of steel and told myself I wasn't the kind of man who believed in omens. I sat, because of course I did. And the seat accepted me like a memory accepts a man who pretends he has forgotten it. The flashlight lay across my knees and lit the glove box latch. I opened it in paper, more leaf than paper now, exhaled a little dust that shouldn't have been able to be dust in this weather. On top, a small spiral notebook with a wet, soft cover. I pulled it gentle, and it came away like skin from a scald. Inside, most of the ink had gone to fog, mountains where sentences used to be. But halfway down a page, a single line held, dark and deliberate, the way a warning sometimes survives when everything else erases. They copy voices you trust. The radio crackled without power, a bad joke. And I spoke into the empty air because a man will talk to a ghost before he admits it is one. Say again, I said, or I meant to say. Except 3 seconds before my mouth moved. My voice had already walked into the cab and set the words down on the seat between us. Say again. Same tired rasp, same frayed patience at the end. I froze, every muscle a striker waiting on a whistle that never blows. The echo wasn't after me, it was ahead of me. as if the night had decided to be the ventriloquist and I the dummy. I tried a smaller thing, something I only ever say to myself in bad weather. Hold the line. And there it was, early, a whisper with my weight on it. Hold the line. And then I felt my lips catch up and betray me. I looked at the windshield because that is what you do when you need a surface that might return you. And the fog on the inside had drawn itself into a thin oval. A human face is blank. And then it undrew. Like the glass remembered it wasn't allowed to be a mirror. Behind that faint oval, something darker moved in the driver's seat. A slow tilt, a simple calculus of angles. And then my own head found me from the outside. I was looking at my profile leaned forward in concentration, the line of my nose, the scar at the chin from the chain binder in '09. And the man in there turned his face toward me, like a man hearing his name in a crowd. There are ways we know ourselves that photographs cannot teach. The way the eye measures without moving, the habit of pinching the lower lip between two teeth before a sentence. And every small private thing I do belonged to the thing inside this other truck. I don't know if I made a sound. The mouth that looked like mine parted, and the radio's dead speaker let my voice out ahead of me again. Who's driving me? The cab asked. 3 heartbeats later, my throat supplied the same trespass. Who's driving me? I don't remember deciding to stand. My knees did it for me, and the flashlight jittered across the dash. Caught the little paper receipt I had pressed into my own truck an hour ago. 2341. Sitting here too, but curled like a leaf that never learned to rot. On the passenger side floor, a paper cup with the word "smoked" written on it in a hand I could have described to a sketch artist, the same crooked confidence. And inside the cup, a thimble of black water that didn't dare evaporate. They copy voices you trust. The notebook line repeated in my head. And I thought, not just voices I trust, voices I use. Voices I have to believe in, or I can't drive. The speaker made space for a new sound, dry, measured, the kind of tone that believes in antiseptic and checklists. And the words lay down in a precise row that kept me from running in any direction at all. Echo confirms attachment. Do not trade. The temptation to say, "Who are you?" rose and fell without becoming a sound. The dispatcher's voice did not wait for my permission to continue being real. It settled into the cab like paperwork settling into a folder with my name on the tab. The breath under the floor, my floor, the other floor, kept its patient cadence. Press, release, press, release. And I realized the rhythm had braided itself with my heartbeat in a way that would be difficult to unlearn. I closed the glove box with the care of a man putting a lid on a story he is not strong enough to finish. When I stepped back, the moss showed me how it had learned the truck, tiny fingerlings in every seam. And I thought how quickly a machine becomes a body when the forest gets a vote. The rain remembered me at the boundary and laid its hands on my shoulders like a mother who has been waiting to scold and to forgive, and will do neither. Behind me, in the dim of the other cab, my double put his hands at 10 and 2 and stared past me into a road I could not see. I walked back through the tunnel of wet with the flashlight off. I didn't want to give the night a shape. And climbed into my cab and shut the door like a bargain. The seat knew me and made its small sound of acceptance. The radio breathed its little animal breath. I put my palm flat on the dash. The white vein through the plastic looked like it had learned the count. And I said the only honest line I had left, because sometimes you have to put the fence around the field or the cattle wander. I'm stuck. I want out. The ground wants me to confess. Morning happens the way a lie happens, not all at once. but with a few details that seem kind. My first detail is silence where the rain should be, and the second is warmth, not the heater's dry throat heat, but a soft, round warmth that a kitchen would admit and a truck should not. I wake to light that behaves itself, a pale, buttery wash spread across the dash, picking out the white vein through the cracked navigator mount like it's a feature and not a flaw. The windshield is a clean idea. No fog on the glass, no smeared letters, no iron on the tongue of the air. My hands feel like they belong to me. The little kettle sits where it always sits, but it's humming, not the empty, rattling hum of a thing trying to boil without water. A real sounding hum, a ready-to-pour hum. I touch the side. It's warm enough to make me believe I'm forgiven. Music is playing low, a station I don't remember finding. Something with guitars that remember how to count. And for a long, childlike moment, I let it be the reason the world behaves. The rain, which has lived with me so long it feels like a roommate who never moves out, has gone to visit someone else. I breathe and my breath is mine, and the floor under my boots is nothing but floor. Even the seat on the passenger side has no hollow now. The upholstery looks like upholstery, and the strand of hair is gone, which is a cruelty or a kindness, depending on your angle. It is so easy, it is frightening, to accept what is handed to you when it is handed warm. I pour water without thinking, and the steam climbs my face. No smokehouse joke this time, no smoked coffee. Just water remembering how to be holy in the air. For a heartbeat, I want to talk to Darcy Hammond like we are late for work and not lost in a problem the trees invented. I want to tell her about this small warmth, about this small lie that feels like it could carry two. I say her full name inside my mouth. Darcy Hammond. And it is not a knife. It is a stone warmed by a pocket. I look out to where morning should be, because that is what you do when a room tells you it has repaired itself. You check the window. I touch the tab and roll it down. No squeal, no protest. Just the sweet compliance of a seal that thinks it has never met weather. And I put my face into the slot that opens, and I look up, and the sky is wrong. Not cloud, not brightness, not even sensible night. The window gives me a close, textured dark that can only be one thing. Soil. Not the idea of soil, the precise, granular fact of it. The pressed black underside of a bank, with little pearl pale roots trailing like hair and mica winking like unloved stars. It is not inches away. It is no distance at all. The way a ceiling pretends to be no distance from the crown of your head. The world above my truck has stopped pretending to be above. The kettle keeps humming, which is obscene, and the music keeps counting its way through a song as if nothing in its life has ever been the wrong shape. I don't jerk back from the window because there is nowhere to go that is farther from this than here. I just flatten my palm to the sill and let the pads of my fingers learn the truth the eyes deliver. A crumb of dirt lets go and drifts down in a lazy language, lands on my knuckle, and it is exactly as heavy as dirt should be. I can smell the faint sweetness of things that rot without hurrying. The radio, which has never been brave, clears its throat like an intern. A voice steps through with its hands washed, that steady, lintless tone that knows the weight of each verb before it uses it. The words are measured out like pills in a cup, and they don't ask permission to sit where hope was sitting. Forgiveness is not provided here, only function. It is said without cruelty, which is worse than cruelty. And I find that I am nodding, because when a rule is stated plainly enough, your neck obeys even if your soul kicks at the stall. I shut the window with care. The glass comes up like a lid, and the daylight inside the cab keeps pretending it is morning. It is a light with no source. It is a kindness with no owner. I set the kettle down and do not pour. In the quiet place after a sentence like that, you can hear the cost of everything that breathes. I listen for the rain because I cannot help myself, and I do not find it. I listen for the breath under the floor, and the floor is only floor. I listen for my own lungs, and they behave like instruments that will play the same song as long as you wind them. And then, because this place understands timing better than I do, a breath happens at the level of my ear that does not belong to me. It is not a word, and it is not a moan. It is the simple fact of air leaving a mouth that is not mine. One soft exhale placed exactly where a human would put it if a human were seated where no one is seated. The kettle hums. The song on the radio finds its chorus like the heart finds its work. I close my eyes so that I will not see the dirt above the world. And for a beat, I almost say it out loud. I almost tell the morning, thank you for trying. And then the light shifts half a shade, and I remember that grace without a giver is the neatest trap ever sprung. The music runs out of courage first. It clicks into static like a lie that remembers it's a lie. And the kettle goes shy, and the kind light folds itself back into a color that belongs to hospitals at 3 in the morning. I'm still in the cab. I haven't moved. But the space around my chest tightens the way a shirt tightens when you step into rain and don't know yet you're drenched. The radio fills its lungs with clean static, no thunder, no engine hash, like someone wiped the air with alcohol. Then the first voice walks in without knocking, as if an objection has the right to be the first thing said in any room. He chose cargo over life. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It lands with that courtroom gravity that makes even a whisper have corners. I know the voice isn't anyone I've met. And also, I know exactly who it is. The part of me that only believes in verdicts. A second voice follows, with the soft defiance of someone who keeps a chair open even when the table is full. He feared a setup, not a killer. Where the first voice puts iron into the vowels, this one puts daylight. It doesn't erase the accusation. It puts it in a frame that doesn't cut your fingers. I don't know these voices, and I know them. They are the 2 lanes in a man's mind when he plays his night over again in slow motion and chooses both sides until both sides choose him back. My hand is on the dash without my permission, as if I'm holding the truck down on the earth to keep it from floating off into some careful sky made of dirt. A third voice enters, and it is the only one that makes the cab larger instead of smaller. He didn't look back. It's Darcy Hammond. Not scolding, not sweet, not anything that lets me pretend how I feel is her fault. Just the measurement of a fact. The distance between a brake light and a body in a raincoat. The length of a glance that had every chance to become a longer thing and didn't. Darcy Hammond says the sentence like a nurse reads a number off a monitor. Not because numbers are kind, but because anything else would be less true. I close my eyes, and the back of my eyelids look like the color that happens when a road forgets to be road. The static clears a chair at the head of the table, and the voice that sits there brings the smell of gauze and forms. The dispatcher is not a person and not a machine. It's the sound you get when a rule decides to use a throat. The cadence is even. The syllables are clean. There is no extra breath anywhere in it. The ground breathes memory. Confession deepens the pull. Trade spreads it. The way the words are spaced makes it an instrument panel. 3 lights you can watch with your hands in your lap. I feel myself wanting to ask what the last light looks like when it comes on. I already know. It looks like the space on the passenger seat that has my name drawn into it by a strand of hair. The accuser leans in. He chose cargo over life. The pleader answers with a hand on the table that never becomes a fist. He feared a setup, not a killer. Darcy Hammond breathes and says the thing that does the work none of us want to do. He didn't look back. The dispatcher does not say right or wrong. The dispatcher says outcomes. It is making a record. This happened, then this. It has already scrubbed the language of adjectives and left only the nouns that can be weighed. Somewhere under my boots, the ground is doing that patient press release, like a metronome set to a story I haven't told yet. I try to speak and hear my voice step 3 seconds ahead of me, and then return for the body it belongs to. I stopped. I tell the room, and the room tells me I stopped. I saw the tail, I say, and the air says it a breath before I do. I left her, I say, and the 3rd second carries it and brings it back like a bird that you didn't mean to catch. The trick would be funny if it wasn't a religion. It feels like a confession booth with a smart mirror. You speak and you watch yourself speak, and your face is a witness against you and for you at the same time. Out beyond the glass, the rain has resumed its work, but it keeps a respectful distance from this patch of nothing we call a road, because we need names for where we are, when names fail. I can smell the kitchen warmth from what the morning pretended to be, as if it leaks the way a lie leaks when it's tired. I think of the dry mouth of the ground, and the truck the moss kept for itself, and the one line in the book that refused to rot. They copy voices you trust. And I understand why the accuser sounds like me and not like a stranger. It's a dirty kindness. When a place wants to tell you what you are, it borrows your mouth so you will believe it. The dispatcher, as if answering a question I didn't have the energy to ask out loud, arranges the variables in a row again. The ground breathes memory. I see the letters on the glass remake themselves and vanish. Confession deepens the pull. The floor under my boots presses a fraction longer on the next release. Trade spreads it. The words put a door in the air, one door only. And I understand that when this place gives you choices, it is not out of generosity. It is out of design. I want to be angry enough to smash the mic into a piece of plastic that used to matter. I want to be the man who bangs the heel of his hand on the horn and makes a noise big enough to prove he still has a shape. I sit with my palms open instead. Somewhere along the long road of tonight, my body decided that stillness was the safest speed. The chorus of voices quiets without leaving, like men who remain in their chairs after the verdict and look at their hands, because hands are the only thing you can own in a room like this. The radio breathes, the truck breathes, the earth breathes. And I realize the problem is not that there isn't enough air. The problem is I am only a hallway for it now. I put my mouth to the mic, and the mic meets me halfway with the ghost of what I'm going to say. The sound of my own intention makes me dizzy. I'm scared, I say, and the echo lays it on the table first, gentle as a nurse setting down a glass. I need air. The ground answers with that small, patient pressure from below. The air goes through me. Saying it out loud makes it truer than I have ever wanted any sentence to be. The dispatcher does not comfort. Darcy Hammond does not blame. The accuser does not cheer. The pleader does not weep. The rain remembers me. I breathe once, twice, and neither breath feels like it belongs to a single person. The first wrong breath is quiet. The kind of hitch you blame on a crumb of sleep in your throat. And then it goes wrong again, in the same place, as if the air has found a shortcut through me and is practicing. I lick my lips and taste the pennies and rain tang of night. And then something finer. Grit, the polite scrape of sand across enamel. I cough, not big, not dramatic, just to be ordinary. And what comes up is a dark mouthful of damp grains that patter against my palm like a handful of tiny clock parts. They are wet enough to clump and dry enough to count. I try to laugh at it, because the body likes a joke when it thinks you are listening. And the laugh sticks to the inside of my cheek like a leaf. The radio says nothing. The rain says everything in a language that does not require me. I swallow, and my left ear pulls a face at the world. A pressure that builds like a secret and then lets go. A small hot bead rolls into the curve of my jaw. I touch it with the back of a knuckle, and the smear it leaves on my skin is the color oil makes when it forgets the difference between black and shine. It is not blood. It is not water. It is a slow, convinced substance that knows how to be patient inside a man who does not. I tilt my head, and another bead follows the first, thick, reluctant, almost grateful to be out. I do not make the sound that wants to come. I am afraid it will not belong to me. Under the skin of my forearm, something happens I have only ever watched in time-lapse videos meant to comfort gardeners. A faint lifting, a softening of the border between what is me and what is beneath me. And then a thinness appears. A small, pale filament running from the hinge of my thumb toward the wrist, too straight to be vein and too eager to be scar. I think splinter, and my fingers pinch at nothing. The line does not agree to be pulled. And then I understand the shape. A root. A beginner root. The idea of a root rehearsing in my flesh. It does not hurt. It makes me tender to myself the way a bruise makes you gentle with a place you were not careful with yesterday. I breathe. Because that is what a man does when undressed by a fact. And the air does not sit where air sits. It travels. It comes in, the good, cold rush. And instead of blooming into ribs and satisfying the stubborn corners, it runs. It runs like a visitor late for a train, down a hall I did not know I had, slipping past the rooms where breath should check in and sign its name. I feel it on the backs of my teeth and in the hinge of my jaw and in the hinge of everything. A throughness, a breeze where no breeze should be. My chest rises and falls like an example someone drew on a chalkboard. The relief does not touch me. I am an instrument the air uses to get where it was already going. Darcy Hammond, I say into the cab, not as a prayer, not as an apology, just as a weight to keep the truck from floating. And the syllables come out round and ordinary, and land on the seat with the wet strand that is no longer there. The ground under the floor keeps its bedtime rhythm, press, release, press, release. And the press is beginning to feel like it is taking a measurement. The accuser holds his tongue. The pleader rearranges his worry into smaller worries. The dispatcher sits with a clipboard where a face should be. Darcy Hammond stands in that place beside my ear where weather is born. Don't trade, she breathes. Not into the microphone, not into the world, into me. The way steam speaks to a window. Don't make me you. There is no anger in it. There is a grief so well behaved it could be mistaken for permission. I turn my head to where her mouth would be if mouths belonged to the dead, and I nearly agree. Not because I am brave, because I am tired of being a hallway with my name on it. Another cough? I try to make it modest. And this time, the sand holds a surprise. Not grit alone, but little mineral shivers. flecks that catch the weak light and throw it back in little knife tips. Mica, maybe, or the suggestion of mica. The way a river keeps a sparkle for itself until it recognizes the right greed in the eye above it. I spit into a paper towel without looking, and the weight in my hand does not feel like something a human should be carrying out of himself. I feel behind my sternum a slow coolness where a warm should be. The thought slides across me like a barn cat. The thought that my bones are being taught to be conduits, that the marrow is reconsidering its profession. I set my palm flat to my chest to argue with the idea. The skin is damp and ordinary. The heartbeat is a law I have obeyed without reading for a long time. The count is steady. The complaint is elsewhere. I take a breath with intent, the kind the doctor asks for before he says again, and the air moves through me with so little loyalty that I want to apologize to the empty seat for letting it happen. It steals nothing. It gives nothing. It uses me. The strangest part is the lack of panic. Somewhere after the night taught me that the sky can be dirt if it wants to. My body decided alarms were wasted on true things. I think of the rules, because rules are what you hold when hands are not enough. The ground breathes memory. Confession deepens the pull. Trade spreads it. And I feel the second line slide a notch forward like a bolt in a lock. Confession. The word makes me clumsy. There are parts of the story I've said and parts I've not said, because to say them would require the kind of courage men like me only have when the road is empty and there is no one left to hurt with the truth. I open my mouth and close it and touch the little root under my skin with the pad of my thumb, like it is a switch that will turn the lights on in a room I have been avoiding. The radio does its clean throat thing, and the voice that arrives is antiseptic enough to be holy. Confession required. Those two words are a tray pushed across a counter to me. Stainless, waiting. The tone doesn't promise relief. It promises process. Confession required, the voice says again. And though it doesn't speed up, time does. The floor's press lengthens on the next release, as if the earth is nodding along with the instruction. Somewhere, in the dry mouth of the cut where rain refuses to practice, a truck breathes in moss. Somewhere, two receipts with the same time on them curl toward each other like old leaves. Somewhere, a voice 3 seconds ahead of my mouth reminds me I am not the only one of me out here. I bring the mic closer, not to obey, to remember how it feels to have a hand on something that isn't a symptom. My ear hums with its little oil slow secret. My throat tastes like a riverbed. Inside my ribs, the air rehearses the route it has learned. In, through, out. And I think, in another life, the only thing I ever wanted was a straight road. The dispatcher breathes on the other end without making a sound. Darcy Hammond breathes through me. I line up the first honest sentence like a truck on a narrow dock and wait for the signal I can pretend is mine. I take the mic like it's a handle on a door I've refused for a year. And when I press the button, my voice shows up 3 seconds early, polite as a pallbearer. I'll say it. And then I catch up to myself. I'll say it. The rain has gone back to its old job, stitching distance to distance. And the ground under the cab keeps time like a tired drummer. I stare at the fogged place on the glass where a tear might have written itself if glass had tear ducts. And I give the truck the only payment it will accept, the truth, whole, no garnish. I stopped that night for Darcy Hammond. Her full name steadies me, like putting both hands on a steering wheel. I pulled over with the hazards on, and she leaned in, hood dripping. She said just to the next town, just anywhere with lights. I said yes, I did. I meant it. I reached to pop the lock, and that's when I saw the tail. I can see it again the way a scar remembers what cut it. Those patient headlights 100 yards back, not closing, not falling away, playing that long, hungry game the road teaches to men who don't mind what they become. I've heard the same stories we all hear. The setups on the shoulders, the friend of a friend with his wallet gone and his sleep gnawed through. I told myself it was just a car. Then I told myself it wasn't. The cargo behind me that night was legal and dull and still expensive if you measure in consequences. I was hauling medicine, not miracle pills, not drama, just the stuff that keeps a clinic from apologizing to a waiting room. The manifest said timing windows in big righteous letters. Do not delay. And the dispatcher, whose face I never saw, had said the thing a man hears as a sentence, even when it's a sentence in the other sense. Last warning. My grip squeaks on the mic. I don't let go. I did the math wrong, or right, depending on what kind of man you think makes it home. I counted the taillights I didn't like, and the delivery window I couldn't miss, and the voice of a manager who's never changed a tire telling me I was out of rope. And I didn't count Darcy Hammond like a person. I counted her like a risk. The air inside the cab tastes like an old coin. I told her I was sorry. I told her I couldn't. I told her reasons that sounded like reasons. She nodded, or maybe the rain nodded for her, and I put it in gear and I left. The silence after that is the shape of the crime. I don't try to fill it. I let it sit. Rain, breath, the truck's small refrigerator clearing its throat like a man who can't look you in the eye. I watched the other car fold back into the dark. I told myself I'd write down the plate if it came closer. It didn't. I told myself I'd circle back if I didn't like the feeling in my bones. And then I talked myself out of my bones. The radio found me a farm report like a lullaby for cowards. In the morning, the news spoke a sentence small enough to fit on a sticker. Body found near mile marker 213. And my mouth said Darcy Hammond, even though the newscaster didn't. I pressed my tongue to the roof of my mouth to keep the next line from slipping out as an alibi. I'm not a killer. I chose myself. I say it slow, not to make it noble, to make it heavy. I don't stack justification after it. I leave the sentence on the table the way a cinder block is left where it falls. The echo puts it down first. I'm not a killer. I chose myself. And then my chest does its part. And between the two of me, the thing becomes true enough to hurt in both directions. There's a small sound in the radio, not static, not rain pretending it's electricity. A human sound that refuses both flavors of certainty. He's human, the gentle voice says. The pleader, the one who keeps a chair for daylight. It doesn't absolve me. It refuses to let the math pretend there was only one column. In that space, I feel grief locate me. Not the theater kind, the kind that shows up with a lunch pail and a long shift. I close my eyes, and there she is again, tapping 2 fingers on the plastic as if to teach the cab a beat. Darcy Hammond. And I am stupid enough to want to ask her for permission to keep breathing the air that won't stay. The little root under my skin answers the want with a hum. Not pain, instruction. I can feel in my forearm what the ground is doing under the floor. Press, release, press, release. Like we are 2 ends of the same low bellows. I swallow, and it feels like I'm moving a hinge that belongs to the earth. You wanted a whole thing, I tell the night. I've given you the whole thing. I don't ask for forgiveness, because a minute ago, a voice with a clipboard told me exactly what product this place carries, and it isn't mercy. The clean tone walks back in. Antiseptic, logged, like it keeps its pencils in a row. Trade offered. Decline to contain. 4 words and 4 more. Each pair a door. The first 2 taste like bait, the second 2 like duty. The grammar is a trap you can respect. Bring another here and you can walk, or refuse to pass the breath along and stay to hold it where it can't go wandering. I feel the sentence settle around my shoulders like a harness I've worn before and pretended was a jacket. Somewhere out in the dim, the other cab with my bad future in it watches the empty lane as if it's a TV. The accuser does not clap. The pleader does not petition. Darcy Hammond does not move. I sit with the mic in my hand and try not to be dramatic. I hear you, I say. The echo nails the words down ahead of me. Then my mouth brings the hammer. I hear you. The rain sows and never shows its seams. The ground under me makes a patient tide of it. In the mirror that isn't a mirror, I can almost see the man I am if I choose the door with the easy hinges. The one who calls a friend to a quiet place to sleep. The one who never has to say Darcy Hammond's name out loud again because the road has new names to occupy his mouth. I feel the other possibility like a bruise I press to make sure it's real. The one where I lay down where the breath is and keep it. Not as a hero, not as a saint, as a function with my name on it and no clock out. For a long count, 1, 2, 3, I let both doors be open. The air moves through me like it is already chosen. I put my hand over the little root in my arm, and it does not object to being called mine. I'm still here, I tell the cab. I'm still here. The echo is kind enough to believe me before I say it. Somewhere a thin laughter that isn't laughter sounds like a gasket settling into place. I tip my head toward the mic in a bow no one can see. I'll answer, I say. And the night, that collector of every sentence, holds out its ledger for the next line. The choice arrives like a form slid across a counter, stainless, impersonal, waiting for a signature that will not wash off. The radio breathes once, not a word, a sterilized inhale. And the voice that has never needed to hurry lays out the 2 boxes you can check without sounding like advice. You may trade, invite another driver to the quiet shoulder, and the function will release you. You may contain, lie where the breath is, and hold it in place. No threat, no pity. Just the grammar of a trap that has done this for a long time and has no reason to sell itself. The floor under my boots presses, releases, presses, like a patient hand on a patient chest, asking, in its way, what kind of man I am when the rain is not watching. The ugly door is the easy one. Make the call, speak the right comfort in the right tone, mention the words private road, say no enforcement out here, say quiet as a church, and then let the night do what it does while you find a station that plays something old enough not to tell on you. The other door doesn't have a knob. You crawl under the cab where the ground breathes like a sleeping animal, and you become a part that moves air and nothing else. Not a saint, not a story, a valve. The first door says you will get home. The second door says someone else will. I pick up the phone without deciding to. The body knows how to reach for a smaller sin. The contact list is a geography you carry in your thumb. It finds a man before the conscience can object. Caleb Morgan, the screen says. Full name, the way you save a person when you work with paperwork. I press the call, and the ring is a clean metronome through the rain. 1, 2, 3. And then a voice I have known on 100 Tuesday nights makes a small laugh before words. Well, I'll be damned, he says, gentle, like a man opening a door to a friend he did not expect to see. That you, milepost? Milepost. The handle I burned 2 years ago and promised I would never answer to. I try on a smile I don't feel. Hey, Caleb Morgan. Full name, because the night has made me careful with names. I found a spot, private road off 7, marked no stop but quiet. No troopers. No one bothers you out here. If you're looking to rack an hour. He fills my pause with gratitude so practiced it has muscle memory. You always knew the good pull-offs, milepost. I owe you. The word owes lands like a coin you don't remember dropping. I hear it again, 3 seconds before he says it. The echo of his thanks reaching me first like a scout. Then the live version stepping into its footprints. I swallow, and my throat tastes like a riverbed. I look at the dash for something human to hold me, and the 2341 on the crumpled receipt looks up like a time that never learned to turn into tomorrow. Where you running tonight, Caleb Morgan? I say, because that is the sentence a man asks to keep the fiction shared. The answer is a shrug wrapped in vowels. Same old line, same old boxes. You know how it is. The tone is a Sunday afternoon tone. No rush, no edge. Too clean, too equal to itself. In the tiny silence after he speaks, the speaker gives me back what he's about to say, 3 seconds early, like a rehearsal that has already replaced the play. I pull the spiral from the glove box, the one the moss truck left with me like a will, and flip the damp pages with a hand that tries not to shake. The ink has migrated. The sentences turn to fog, all except the little islands that refuse to drown. In the rear, I find a list the way a man finds his own name in a program where he never sang. Notes in a careful, square hand. Dates marching down the margin, mile markers stalking the dates like second thoughts. And in that quiet column, last year's storm, month and day that matched the memory I refuse to call an anniversary. A name that sounds like a hand on my shoulder. Caleb Morgan, westbound, lost contact, presumed down beyond 213. The letters are the exact size of a man doing his best not to add feeling to facts. I press my thumb to the page and the damp gives, like flesh. Caleb Morgan, I say again into the line, and the echo says it first. Caleb Morgan. And then I do. And I hear him smile at the sound of his name. The smile a person makes who believes the world still knows where to put him. You always find the places, milepost, he says. Same rhythm, same warmth. And then the warmth hangs wrong, as if the night has a thermostat with only one setting. The accuser in me lifts his head. The pleader says wait. The ground says nothing. It doesn't have to. The radio clears its throat without static. The dispatcher arrives as if the room had been waiting for it to sit before anyone else could stand. The voice edges down to a whisper without losing any of its clean. Voice match archived. Deceased. No thunderclap, no drama. 4 words set on a table that collapses 100 others. I close my eyes, and the color behind them is the color of a lane with no paint. Say again, I ask, because men ask machines to repeat the things that break them. And 3 seconds before my mouth asks, the answer does not change. Voice match archived. Deceased. I look at the call timer counting up like an absurdity. 2 minutes, 3. Alive numbers that do not belong to what they measure. Where you at, milepost? Caleb Morgan asks, kind as a map. And the old handle lands like a shovelful of dirt on a lid I thought I had nailed down. The rules line up in me by themselves, like switches hungry for daylight. The ground breathes memory. Confession deepens the pull. Trade spreads it. The last one hums with a small vector, a direction that runs from me into the world through the word invite. I do the small, stupid, brave thing I can do. I do not answer the question that would turn into directions. I let the air in the cab remember how to be heavy. "You still there?" he asks, 3 seconds ahead, then in real time. And his voice is a kindness borrowed from a man the road has already kept. I set the phone on the dash with the care I usually reserve for breakables I have to hand back. I do not hang up. A mercy does not require the noise a decision makes. The dispatcher, patient as salt, recites the rule a final time in case the brain needs the ritual to remember the meaning. The ground breathes memory. Confession deepens the pull. Trade spreads it. 3 lights on the panel. 1 burns steady, 1 brightens, 1 waits. I feel the second light tighten inside my ribs. The third stares at me like an eye that wants my hand. The pleader says, "He's human." The accuser says, "He will be, if you let yourself be." Darcy Hammond does not speak, and her silence is the heaviest of the 3. I look at the window where the fake morning put dirt in the sky, and I say the line to the cab the way a man buckles a belt before he picks up a load. I know the rules. I know the cost. I won't pass this on. The echo stakes it down first. I listen to myself promise me. And then the man I am brings his mouth to the words and gives them weight. The ground under the floor keeps its press, release, like it has heard a decision form and is already finding the place it will fit. I do not hang up, and I do not give directions. I set the phone face down so the little living numbers cannot look at me. And the cab, which has learned how to hold its breath, holds it. Somewhere in the speaker, the borrowed voice of Caleb Morgan keeps being kind to me with the steadiness of a metronome. And then it becomes what it is, a pattern without a pulse. My hands know how to go still when a decision has found them. I look at the place on the windshield where the lie of morning had pressed its dirt sky against the day. And I say it in the tone a man uses when he finally stops negotiating with himself. If breath needs a body, let it be mine. The echo puts it down first. I hear myself accept my own sentence 3 seconds early, and then my mouth brings its warm to it, and the 2 versions of me agree for once. I set the mic on the dash like a tool I respect. The rain has steadied back into the long thread it knows how to be, and the ground under the cab keeps the patient push release of something that has learned me and does not mind that it has. You would think you would want to run. There is a kind of decision that takes running back from you. I open the door, and the weather leans in, and the night says nothing at all. Under the frame, the space smells like a garage that forgot to leave. Iron, old oil, the dark milk of wet dirt. I slide on my shoulder until the world becomes a narrow ceiling of metal and a floor of earth that waits with the manners of a tired dog. The rain threads itself through the ribs of the chassis in silver lines. Every drop is a clock you can set your throat by. I put my palm flat on the soil where the press has the most patience, here. And it rises into my hand like a living diaphragm and lowers in that same measured way. Like a lesson. My fingers sink half a knuckle without effort. The dirt is neither mud nor sand. Something in between that belongs to bodies. I lie back until the bones that have been working for me all my life understand a new job. The metal above me is the sky now. The earth below is the thing that breathes. When the ground acknowledges you, it does not do it with drama. It makes room. The first giving is small, a loosening of the surface as if someone unbuttoned a collar, and my spine agrees to the shape it is offered. The second giving is slower, a settling that does not panic the blood, and my shoulders rise and then become level with a softness that knows bones. I do not sink. I am held. The pressure presses, releases, presses, and I recognize the count I have been hearing since I pulled off. The cadence of a job that needed a body. The radio speaks through the open door with the clarity of a man who has read the same sentence 1,000 times and still believes it should be read out loud. Containment confirmed. Function only. No forgiveness. The phrase lands without ripping anything. That is its cruelty. It just puts the label where the label goes. I nod. To the frame. To the rain. To the voice. Because nodding is the one thing left that belongs to me. Forgiveness had already been taken from the menu 2 chapters ago. Function, at least, offers a way not to make the world worse. The first breath that matters is not mine. It moves through me with a coolness that does not belong to lungs. In, out. And the inside of my ribs becomes a hallway that air uses with no interest in furniture. It is not theft. Theft would imply someone is poorer after. It is use. The body, asked to be a valve, is happy to be a valve. It loves a simple task. I think of the little pale root under my skin, the way it wrote its new name along the hinge of my thumb. And I feel the same language under my back now. Threads of gentle pull attaching me not like chains, but like sutures. I am being sewn into the job I accepted. The world above the frame narrows to the rectangle of a drain. Rain crosses it like handwriting. There is a quiet in this position that does not exist anywhere else. The quiet you hear in a house when the power has gone out, and you realize the hum you never noticed was the song you lived by. With my ear on the earth, I can hear other halls opening. Not words, not prayers, other breaths, far, near, a choir without melody, a field full of bellows. Some breaths are shallow and quick, some are long and stubborn, some stumble and are lifted by the ones near them until they find their count again. Do not know their names, and I do not need to. To do this job, you do not need names, you need steadiness. Darcy Hammond's name arrives anyway. Not in the air, in the blood. It comes like the warmth of a hand you do not deserve and still recognize. I do not ask for her voice. Her voice does not ask to be asked. It stands beside the new work and does not interfere. I say her full name once into the frame. Darcy Hammond. And the echo places it politely down ahead of me, and my own mouth brings up the rear, and for a second, we are 3. The accuser has nothing left to do. The pleader sits with his hands folded the way a man sits in a waiting room after the surgeon tells him what they did was necessary. The dispatcher, having assigned the function, does what good dispatchers do, steps away and watches the board. I do not know how long I'm there before the road above my little ground-level sky announces a new thing. The soft growl of a diesel finding a gear in the wet. The long light of a grill sliding past the trees like a careful comet. The cab I cannot see pulls the rain after it. I feel the wake of it as a gentle change in the ground's decision. Then the CB tickle, that little polite throat-clear drivers do before they say anything that might become a story. And the radio in my open cab admits a voice that is mine now, whether I like the grammar of that or not. I speak into it the way a nurse speaks into an intercom. Calm, useful, not selling anything. If you think of stopping on a private road, count 2 breaths. If the second one isn't yours, don't stop. I do not add directions. I do not add comfort. I place the sentence in the lane in front of the stranger and let him decide what to run over and what to carry. His engine slows a fraction, not much, enough to tell me the words found the room they needed. The rain approves in its old way. More, more, more. and the ground keeps doing the work it knows how to do through the instrument I am. I am not a saint. This is important. Saints keep stories. I keep a function. The difference is the shape of the face people put on you afterward. There will be no face for me. There will be the work and the weather and the voice when it is needed. Somewhere beyond the trees, in the places where the dirt sky pretended to be morning, there are rooms that will stay rooms, because this breath does not wander into them. That is enough. I do not forgive myself. I am not forgiven. The job does not require it. The rain tightens its weave. The frame above me ticks as metal learns the temperature it was always going to have. And the soil under my shoulders becomes a familiar pillow with a very old pulse. I test the shape of the warning again. Once for the root, once for the muscle memory. And then I let my voice flatten into the clean, measured cadence the dispatcher taught me while it was teaching me my own name. This place has a name. I feel the sentence find its clipboards and its neat row of boxes. And then, without moving a muscle, I let the warmth of the man who chose the harder door return to the last part. Because a label should be true, and a truth should be carried by a human mouth. The breathing ground, it doesn't forgive. It only breathes. The truck above me, mine, quiets its little animals one by one. Out on the highway, a horn calls to no one in particular and gets the answer it deserves. The long, indifferent syllable of rain. I breathe, once, twice, and the second breath is not mine. And that is exactly what I asked for. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the bell so you won't miss what's next.